They go by a bunch of nicknames: the Unit, D-Boys, or just CAG. Officially though, they're known as 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment-Delta. That's a mouthful, so most folks just call them Delta Force. This unit is tip of the spear for entire US military, basically the guys you call when things go sideways fast. This time around, we're breaking down all the Delta Force squadrons, who they are, what they do, and how they operate. We'll cover Squadrons, Sabre teams breaching compounds, E Squadrons, Little Bird pilots, G Squadrons, covert infiltrators, and the shadowy Tier 1 hackers crippling enemy networks, each bringing unrivaled skill to the force. Delta Force came onto the scene in the late 70s when US defense agencies started realizing that the old school way of fighting, big armies, big battles, wasn't gonna cut it against fast-moving rogue groups. They needed something sharper, quicker, and way more surgical. That's where Colonel Charlie Beckwith stepped in. A straight-up legend, Beckwith was a battle-hardened Green Beret with time in Vietnam, and he'd also worked alongside the British SAS during the Malayan emergency. The vision got the green light in 1977, and boom, 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, or just Delta, was born. Based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and tucked under JSOC, Delta was built to be fast, flexible, and brutally effective, and it didn't take long before they were thrown into the fire, facing early missions that would help carve out their legendary status. Hit us up if you want to see a video covering Delta's wildest missions. The exact breakdown and naming of every squad inside Delta Force is super locked down. The US government doesn't publicly acknowledge its existence, but thanks to open source info from military historians, ex-operators, and legit publications, we've got a pretty good picture of how Delta is generally structured. At the core, Delta's made up of several assault and recon squadrons, each with their own lane, and further broken down into smaller teams. The main hitters, A, B, C, and D squadrons, are what most folks call the assault or Sabre squadrons. These guys handle the high-stakes stuff. C Squadron came online around 1990, with D Squadron joining the mix in 2006 to beef up the force's capabilities. We'll break down EG, Combat Support, CNOS, and Signal Squadron a little later. Each assault squadron is made up of 3 troops. Troops 1 and 2 are all about kicking in doors and going loud, while Troop 3 is more low-key, handling recon and intel gathering. Each troop breaks down even further into 4 teams. Now let's zoom in and get a detailed look at Squadron A and what they bring to the table. Squadron A is one of the oldest Sabre squadrons in Delta. When we say Sabre Squadron, we're talking about the guys who handle direct action hits and counter-terror ops. Whether it's tracking down a terror cell leader, rescuing hostages, or dismantling enemy compounds, this squadron's built for fast and lethal action. They have somewhere around 75 to 85 operators, split into 3 troops. 2 assault troops, Troop A and Troop B, and 1 recon sniper troop. Each assault troop rolls with about 20 to 25 guys, and they're broken down into 4 smaller teams, usually with 4 to 6 operators each. Alright, let's break down Troop A and Troop B and see what each team's all about. Troop A is one of Squadron A's 2 assault troops, a tight-knit crew of around 20 to 25 seasoned operators who handle the most intense parts of Delta's playbook. Troop A split into 4 smaller teams, Team A, B, C, and D. Alright, let's zoom in on what one of these teams looks like in action. Team A. A typical assault team got a sergeant, first class, or master sergeant running the show. This is the team leader, the one calling the shots, planning the mission, making sure everyone's squared away, and keeping things tight when it hits the fan. They've usually got 10 to 15 years of experience, often coming out of the Green Berets or Army Rangers. Backing them up is another senior NCO, the team's second in command. That extra layer of leadership helps the team stay locked in, even when things go sideways. There are typically 4 to 6 operators on a team, but that number can stretch up to a dozen depending on the mission. These guys are straight up CQB specialists. Fast, surgical, and deadly in tight spaces. They're trained in ha-ho and halo jumps, fast roping, breaching, and pretty much anything else that screams elite. Now, each team's got its own expertise. Team A might be the go-to for urban assaults. Think clearing stairwells and room stacks in a hostage standoff, using a mix of brute force and surgical moves. Team B could be the squad that crushes vehicle or maritime ops. Picture them chasing down a smuggler's boat in the Gulf or hitting a convoy in motion. Clean, fast, and aggressive. Team C might specialize in high-risk recoveries, like rolling deep into enemy territory to pull out a downed pilot under fire. Team D, nighttime ninjas. Think sneaking into a cartel hideout in Central America. Zero noise, zero mistakes. Troop B, the second wave. All the other assault troops roll with the same size and setup as Troop A, but each one brings its own expertise to the fight. For example, Troop A might be the ones busting down the front door. Troop B is usually right behind them. Think of them as the follow-up punch, locking down the area, handling any leftover threats, or pulling off synchronized hits. Troop B is broken down into Teams E, F, G, and H. Team E handles large-scale assaults to blow through bunkers or breach heavy defenses. Team F might be the embassy rescue crew if you need a fast, clean extraction from a diplomatic mess. These are your people. Team G might shine in maritime or high-altitude ops, boarding hijacked ships or clearing out mountain hideouts at 10,000 feet. And Team H? These are your rapid response hitters, the kind of crew you'd want when things go south in a hurry, like stopping an active shooter in a crowded city block. The rest of the assault squadrons, along with their troops and teams, follow a similar structure. Alright, let's talk about the secondary squadrons. First up, we've got E Squadron, Delta's aviation wing. These folks are based out of Fort Eustis, Virginia, and operate under the low-key alias Aviation Technology Office. They roll with AH-6 and MH-6 Little Birds, small, fast choppers tricked out to look like civilian rides but pack a serious punch. Many of these pilots pulled from the 160th SOAR, trained to land on a dime in pitch-black conditions with zero room for error. The squad's not huge, maybe 50 to 75 people, but it's a tight crew. Pilots, crew chiefs, and mechanics. Next, we got G Squadron. These are the Shadow Warriors, the ones who ghost into enemy territory. They specialize in Advanced Force Operations, AFO, which is just a fancy way of saying they sneak in first, get eyes on the target, gather intel. Back in the day, folks used to call them the Funny Platoon. These guys are experts in blending in and operating under the radar. Think undercover work, low-vis infiltrations, and even deploying female operators when the mission calls for it. It's a small crew, maybe 30 to 50 strong. Up next, we've got the Combat Support Squadron, with a head count between 100 to 200. These folks are technical backbone that makes the whole machine run. Also based at Fort Liberty, EOD techs who deal with bombs, medics, SIGINT crews, running comms and intercepts, and specialists who know how to deal with WMD threats. Alright, next up we got the Signal Squadron. These folks are the lifeline on the battlefield, keeping those encrypted comms tight. With around 30 to 50 people, they handle everything from radios and SATCOM to SIGINT collection. Now sliding into Computer Network Operations Squadrons, or CNOS. Think of these guys as Delta's Tier 1 computer hackers. They're scattered around the DMV area, with their HQ in Arlington, plus 2 troops over at Fort Meade and Langley. These operators slip into other countries under the radar, posing as NGO workers, hitting up sketchy internet cafes in the Middle East, hunting down high-value targets with nothing but a laptop and nerves of steel. These guys often team up with CIA, ISA, and other black-budget cyber teams inside JSOC. And that's a wrap on all the squadrons under the Delta Force umbrella. Each one plays a different role. So, which squad would you want to be a part of? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and smash that subscribe button.